The organ transplant list, which was designed to prioritize fairness, is in more and more cases a lie. This is Marcus Edsel-Parr. He has had a lifetime of kidney trouble. He was on the organ transplant waiting list for nearly a decade until he finally made it to the top of the list. But the organ did not go to him. The kidney went to a man who was 3,558th on the list. Our investigation found thousands of people who were skipped while near the top of a waiting list. Over 1,200 of them ended up not getting a transplant and dying. So let's look at how the transplant system works. Every state has at least one organ procurement organization. These are nonprofits that have contracts to coordinate the allocation and the transportation of organs. So when an organ procurement organization recovers an organ, they create a list of all of the potential people who are a match. The list is prioritized based on which possible recipients are the most sick, have been waiting for the longest, and are also located nearby. Offers are then sent to patients' doctors. The doctor can say yes or no, and often they do say no because they think that it's not a great match for their patient. If the first says no, they move on to the next patient. And if they say no, they offer it to the next patient. They're supposed to keep working down the list until the organ is accepted. Organs do deteriorate. So the procurement organizations are on the clock. They need to allocate these organs before they become unusable. So there is a fail-safe called an open offer. With an open offer, the procurement organization just calls a hospital and says, here, we have an organ, take it, you can put it into any of your patients. The organ procurement organizations say they give these open offers only as a last resort if the organ is at risk of becoming unusable. But we found that these procurement organizations are increasingly using open offers just to cut staffing costs and save money, and sometimes just steer organs to preferred hospitals. So why is this happening? It started in 2020 when the government tried to address one of the biggest problems with the system, discarded organs. Congress put pressure on the procurement organizations to address this problem. And they responded by putting more staff at hospitals, by getting more aggressive with families, and by pursuing more organs. But they also responded to that pressure by increasingly turning to this shortcut, the open offer, because it was easy. In the past, procurement organizations used open offers only about 2% of the time, and usually only after they had unsuccessfully offered an organ to hundreds of patients. But now they skip patients 19% of the time. And you can see from this graph, the increase in open offers didn't even solve the waste problem. The discard rate has actually gone up. We found that when organizations use open offers, transplants disproportionately go to white patients, Asian patients, patients with college degrees, and patients who are healthier. In the case of Marcus, this was the most promising kidney. In almost a decade on the transplant list, the kidney had been outside the body for about 10 hours, which meant that they still had plenty of time, but the organ procurement organization chose to give an open offer to another hospital. When patients are skipped, they usually don't find out about it. For Marcus's family, they didn't know any of this until we told them months later. Marcus eventually did get a transplant, but the kidney was not as compatible, was not in as good of condition. He may need to go back on the transplant list again.